Hi guys, it's Gunnar here again. Let me tell you something. I absolutely loved doing the podcast yesterday, and it was a lot of fun for me. I'm gonna get into that a little bit more today, but I got a couple of, I'm not gonna say a bunch, but a couple of very positive feedbacks. And most of the things that I do, they are here within the reality of Brazil, right? And the reason why I wanted to do something in English, it's because I very much want to. I believe that I have something special going on here, and I just want to make it broader and just reach out more people all around the world. When I lived in America, it felt like I was living in the whole world. And the reason for that is that in Florida, where I lived, there were so many immigrants. I don't know what's the reality in other places. I know that in California they have a similar reality. I know that in New York, like these big cities, you have these similar realities that it's just cosmopolitan cities where you have just in a melting pot people from everywhere. So here in Brazil, that's not really like that. Maybe it was at one point. Everybody in Brazil is a son of an immigrant. You came from somewhere. For example, I'm such a huge mix. I have Indian, like when I say Indian, like native Brazilian, native Brazilian. So that type of Indian. I have Swedish. I have Polish. I have German. I have Portuguese. Those are my roots, right? And then, so everyone from my family, they came from somewhere. I believe that's the reality in most of America, right? But probably in the Latin countries, wherever they speak Spanish, I just have a feeling that they have more of a local root than the rest of us. But you just have people that came from Africa. So Brazil is also a melting pot, but it's not to the point. Maybe São Paulo, which is like the biggest city, has more than 12 million people living there. Huge city. I'm sounding like Trump. Huge. So it is a huge city. But the rest of us, especially here in the south of Brazil, we have these descendancies. So our families came from somewhere, but basically everyone has been Brazilians. They're you and your parents. That's how it is. But in America, you have a lot of immigrants like I was, people that had just immigrated to America. I saw the reality that if it wasn't the person, it was their parents. So I don't know what they call it, is first generation Americans, I think. So not even, right? For you to have an idea, whenever I whenever I first moved to America, I couldn't speak any English. I moved there, I was 12, and I believe that the reason why I have an accent still today, even though I moved when I was 12, is because we were always part of a Brazilian community. So we always went to an American church. My parents, they worked with Brazilian people most of the time. They, like you had Brazilian supermarkets. Maybe you can call it supermarkets, but mini markets for sure. You had Brazilian restaurants. You had Brazilian parades, in the Brazilian Day on 7th of September. You had this huge Brazilian community. Over where I lived, there were more than 55,000 Brazilians living. So you can have an idea. It's a lot. A lot. So to the point that my mom and my dad, they understood the basics of English. They could communicate barely, but they never had to, because just in Florida especially, The second language is Spanish, and Spanish is very similar to Portuguese. Very, very similar. For some whatever reason, most of, not all of them, but most of Spanish speaking people, they have a hard time understanding Portuguese. But us Brazilians, and I don't know what's it like for people in Portugal, I believe it's similar. We understand Spanish very easily. We might not speak it right away, but it's very easy for us to understand, for most of us anyway. So I really felt like I was a citizen of the world. You had people from literally, I've met people from every single Latin country, every one of them. I've just met like people from all over, and I have friends from all over. Then you had the people from India, and you had the people from China, from Japan, from all over Europe, from Africa, from Haiti. So, and I'm talking about the most first generation Americans, but if not, it was immigrant kids like me. And I felt like I was a citizen of the world because I felt so privileged to just be able to live with that amount of diversity, with so many cultural differences, so many cultural beliefs. And I really learned how to develop my love for people over there. Really, really, like tremendously. I can't even describe it, how thankful I am for the experience that I had living in America and then coming back to live in Brazil. So today, this is my reality. I'm back in my country, wherever you have a huge diversity of people. For example, if you want to draw out a like Japanese person, you know they're gonna have the chingy eyes, that they have similar features. If you're gonna draw somebody from Africa, you know that by their skin color, depending on the country, you just have like the clothing. There are so many different things that you can pinpoint from different people of the world. Indian people, they're similar. You just go all over Asia and Mongolia, they're very similar to each other. But Brazil, it's like you would do an injustice to the rest of the country if you draw a Brazilian in whatever form or shape, because we're just so different from each other. Super, super different. We're kind of like America, but the difference, like I told you, is that in America you have a bunch of immigrants that they're just there for the first time, or maybe first generation Americans where the parents were immigrants. Over here, like in the last decades, we haven't had that heavy immigration, aside from Venezuelans, because they're just running from the poverty in their country, and Brazil is a close enough country that they can run to, and people are fleeing from there. So we have today, if you can point two types of immigrations that we had in the last decades of Brazil, are Haitians and Brazilians, right? But it's not massive like America. We don't preach that American dream that attracts people from all over the world to America. Nah, we're a third grade country still. We're struggling with politics, with corruption, with even poverty, even though it's a country of great opportunities and beautiful culture. And our culture is so vast, because think about it, most countries in Europe, they are smaller than any of our states, and Brazil is what is called a continental country because we're the size of a continent. We are, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth or the fifth biggest country in the whole world when it comes to area. So you just have this very, very different cultures everywhere. In the south it's something, and up north is another. Northeast you have just a whole different other. Then you have like huge cities like Rio and Sao Paulo, where you have just another culture itself, and it's a melting pot of cultures. But it's people that have been Brazilian, that their grandparents are Brazilian, that their parents are Brazilian, that you have your great grandparents that might be or might have been immigrants, if that, you know. So when the reason why I'm saying this is that whenever I lived through this melting pot of cultures, I first of all I understood by working here in Brazil in a hotel where we would receive people from all over the world. So you would have Italians and they could speak English. You would have people from Switzerland, from Sweden. They would come and speak English. You have people from China. They could speak English. In India and from Japan. Obviously, that within those countries is not the majority of people that speak English. I mean, some of them, like for example, Japan is such a great country, first world country, but not that many people speak English over there. But the business people, the people who are doing something, they speak English. The people who are doing international business. So what I learned working in this hotel is that everywhere you go, you have someone speaking English. It's definitely the most important language and the most basic language for anybody to speak if you want to move away from your small world, if you want to really broaden your horizons. Everybody's gonna have an accent. I have an accent. I can tell. I hear myself. I know exactly what I sound like, and I don't speak like an American. I speak like a Brazilian that lived in America. But that's the beautiful thing about an accent. It's different than you saying something wrong. Right? Whenever you say something wrong, you're going to change the meaning or you're going to give no meaning to a word. But whenever you have an accent that has to do with your personality, with your background, with the people that surround you, so much that all over the world, the countries that do speak English as a first language, they all have a different accent. In England, you got one. In Ireland, you have another one. Within England, which is a small country, you go to London, you have one accent. You go to Manchester, you have another accent. In Scotland, they have another accent. It is all very similar, very close to each other. You go to Australia, they have a whole different accent. You go to South Africa, is another accent. So in America, not every state maybe, but for sure, you can tell the accent from people from the south to the mid center America over there. Forgot what it's called. The North States, Boston. You have California. You just within these neighborhoods, you have such a rich vast of diversity in the way that you speak. So I have my own accent, and there's nothing wrong with that. I wish I could have had I could have speak more like American people, because I could never hide, right? I could never hide, because even though I'm white, I have green eyes. I could look American to someone who's not paying attention close enough. Whenever they would hear me speak, they would know that I wasn't from there, and I lived in a pretty racist and state, even though it was that diverse. Not everyone, obviously. I had wonderful white people that really showed love to me, and great people, but you just had a lot of people that they had that Confederates mentality, which is very, very weird, because they're also sons of immigrants or grandchildren of immigrants, but whatever. This has a lot to do with ignorance, and it's a deep, deep, deep rooted problem in America. So anyways, what I'm trying to say with all of this is that I had this experience that made me love the world, that made me feel like I was a citizen of the world, that I'd be welcome anywhere I went, that I could adapt and I could literally live anywhere in the world and just get along with people, right? It made me so much more empathetic. It made me so much more understanding. I just, you know, God gave this love for people to me that I cannot explain, and you know, it shows in my personality. Everyone that knows me knows that I really get along well with people. I love talking to them. I love listening to them. I just love learning their stories. I love telling stories. I'm a writer. So this is just something that is within me. And for me to just speak Portuguese and have a business that is only here in Brazil, that do anything that is very local, it's very small to me. So I always think internationally. You know, me and my friend a couple of years ago, maybe in 2015, we were sitting down at this restaurant called Madero here, and it was his birthday, and I took him out to eat, and you know, we sat down, we were talking, and we were saying to each other, man, we have to have always an international mindset. You cannot have this neighborhoody mindset where your world is just within whatever you touch. We gotta have our, if we cannot go as far as touch the whole world, our mind has to. You know, you understand that the energy within you has to be connected to everything else. And that's beautiful when you feel connected to the world, because this is where you belong. That's where God created us, and He created us for this world. So whenever we love God's creation, we take better care of it. We take better care of each other. So I got caught doing something very locally, and that's super reasonable and understandable. But I've realized that if I don't take steps to become a little bit more internationalized, I never will. I'm just gonna be here. So to me, doing this podcast in English is the first step that I'm taking in order to I'm not gonna say internalize, because it has to do with internal. Internationalize. There we go. Internationalize myself and the things that God has given me. This love that, you know. Let me tell you something. I'm doing something right now that I know that is making a difference in people's lives. You know, I'm teaching them how to work within the stock market. I'm teaching them a profession. I'm teaching them how to invest, how to think like an investor. You know, I'm teaching them to be entrepreneurs. These are things that I'm very happy to do, because I see that I'm creating value into these people's lives. And I look into the whole world and I see the opportunities that are there. And these opportunities, they have a lot to do with helping so many people that are within developing countries, that are within third world countries, and even first world countries, because we create this illusion that a first world country is something perfect. God knows it's not, and there are so many needs in there, but there are also so much potential within the whole world for us as a people to come together and to love each other and to just do better. So I believe in that. 100% I believe in that. And because I believe in that, I want to take action towards it. Now, I cannot lie to myself. I need to do really well here in Brazil first, so I can do anything else anywhere else in the world. Even because of simple things like the expenses of doing that. So like I don't have the conditions today of doing something international. I just don't, but I will, and I'm working towards that. And whenever I do, I really hope that I can capture a couple of people around the world to start listening to my podcast and getting to know me and getting to know what I have to offer and how we can benefit from each other and you can benefit from my experiences in life. Today, we just live in a weird situation that we're divided, we're polarized, and most people are very blind to that. And the reasons they are making us separated, divided, polarized are not as big as the reasons that we have to be united and to love each other. And it's not naive from my part, because I'm talking about potential. And we do have a lot of potential. And we need to live up to it. Even though we fail, some of us need to be optimistic to keep on pushing forward. Because if we all are pessimistic or even realistic, however you want to call it, I like to call myself a hopeful realistic, right? I'm not denying the reality. I'm not denying that we have ignorance. I'm not denying that we have evil in the world. Man, that's so true. But we have to work together to change this. And I believe that we can. I really, truly believe that we can. And if I can be a part of it, I'd be super happy. Alright guys, so listen to me. I always do this podcast while I'm coming to work because I just hate driving and doing nothing. And since I don't have a driver yet for me to just work on my stuff on a laptop or whatever, answer emails, I have to drive myself. So I don't like to just drive and do nothing. So every morning I do my podcast and I post it right after because it's a way that I can be productive while driving. It takes me about 22 to 25 minutes for me to arrive to work. Depends a lot on the traffic, but usually that's what it takes. And it's the time that I have to talk to you guys. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please subscribe. Please share this with another. If you feel like you are a citizen of the world, or you know someone who is a citizen of the world, or is a well-traveled person, or a person that loves people, share this podcast with them. We're gonna talk a lot about a lot of interesting things, but I need you to get to know me so you can understand a little bit of my background and why you should listen to me. Okay, so have a blessed day. I'll see you another time. Bye bye.